Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today's topic is going to be predicting the ratings for the New York Jets in Madden 20. But before I get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. And like I said, we're going to be predicting the ratings for the new Madden game. The official ratings are going to come out next week. We already know what some of the rookies are rated as. Quinnen Williams is the highest rated rookie. We will talk about him on the defensive side of the ball, but we will start with the offense and start with the most important position in football, the quarterback. So I'm only going to really talk about the starters. There might be some backups that I'll throw in there, but pretty much it's just going to be the starters. So starter, Sam Darnold. We know last year he started out with a pretty low rating. That tends to happen with rookies and quarterbacks, but he finished the year strong. Does he crack that 80 mark? That seems to be the benchmark for showing that you are a pretty good quarterback in Madden terms, obviously. I think he comes in just slightly underneath it. I'm going to say Sam Darnold opens up with a 79 rating. Now, over the course of the year, I expect that to go up, but I feel like the Madden overall is just going to sleep on him a little bit and put him at a little bit of lower mark to start the year. So I'm going to say 79 for him. Running back, I will talk about two running backs, and they will be the top two guys, Le'Veon Bell and Ty Montgomery. Le'Veon Bell missed all of last year. If he played, I might put his rating a little bit higher, but I'm going to mark him down as an 89. Still a premier back in this league, but I think there's going to be about I'm going to go about four running backs who are ranked ahead of Le'Veon Bell. So he's going to be sitting at around the 89, and Ty Montgomery's probably going to be around the 79. He's a pretty good backup running back, an okay running back, but not someone you want to start. So 79 seems pretty fair for him. As for the wide receivers, we're going to talk about the big three, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, and Quincy Enunwa. So we'll get things started with Robbie Anderson, who is the de facto number one wide receiver overall on this team, and I think he has the highest rating of these three. I'm going to put him right at 83. He is probably a middle of the pack kind of receiver, so right at the 83 mark seems pretty fair to me. I'm really high on his potential for this year. I think he could eclipse the 1,000 yard mark for the first time in his career, especially if Sam Darnold stays healthy, because last year, if Darnold stayed healthy throughout the entirety of the season, maybe he comes close to cracking it. And the year before that, Josh McCown obviously missed some time, so if Bryce Petty wasn't his quarterback, maybe he eclipsed the 1,000 yard mark 2 years ago, but this year might be the year that he finally does it. I think Madden's going to rate him around somewhere around the 83. Next up, we will talk about Jamison Crowder, who I think comes in next with an 80 overall rating, an okay rating. I mean, he's a good slot receiver, so I think somewhere right around there makes sense, plus or minus maybe 2 points in either direction. And finally, I have Quincy Enunwa as a 79. I would like to rate him a little bit higher, but I think his injury from last year is going to lower him a little bit just because he didn't have that great of production numbers. He only had that one touchdown from week one, so I think that's going to hurt him a little bit. As for the tight end, I really like Chris Herndon a lot. I think he's probably one of the better tight ends in the league. He's going to show that this year, but for now, I don't think that Madden overall views him that way. So I'm going to have him at an 82, which I still think is a pretty solid rating, but slept on a little bit. Expect that to move up as the year goes on. Now for the offensive line, we know this is a very weak position for the New York Jets. We'll go left to right, starting with Calvin Beachum, who is about an average starting left tackle, so he's going to get an average score around the 77 grade for me. I would like to think that that can go up, but I think he's going to be right around there probably most of the year. Kelechi Osalemi is by far the best offensive lineman on this team. He is coming off a down year, though, so I think he is someone who normally would be rated about a 90, but he's coming off a bad year, so I'm going to say he comes in at an 84. Again, name recognition, I think that helps him out a little bit. Otherwise, he might be looking at an even lower score, but I'm going to say he's the highest rated Jet offensive lineman at an 84. That brings us to center, which is arguably the weakest position on the New York Jets, and that is Jonathan Harrison. He is going to be rated as a 70 for me. I think he is a below average center and gets a very below average grade. Then at right guard, you have Brian Winters, who is a borderline mediocre starter. He's okay. He's a fringe starting NFL guard. I mean, that is what he is. So I'm going to give him a fringe starter score of a 78. I think that's going to be his overall heading into this year. Could that go up? Sure. I mean, just a couple of years ago, he was much better, but I think after a couple of down years, he's going to be right around the 78. And then on the right side, I'm going to give Shell a 71. I don't love Shell. I know a lot of people think that he's a pretty good right tackle. but I think he's below average, and I think Madden's not going to give him anything too high as his overall, so I'm going to go 71 for Shell to start off. Now we will flip over and talk on the defensive side, starting with the defensive line. Leonard Williams is going to get a pretty high grade. I think he's going to get like an 86 overall. Is that what he deserves? Probably not. I am someone who is not as high on Leonard Williams as other people, but I think overall the majority of people overhype him, so I think he's going to get an overhyped grade of around an 86 overall. Then Quinnen Williams, we know he's going to be an 80 overall, so we don't have to talk about that. Henry Anderson, I think, is going to come in around an 81. Could potentially drop a little bit if he starts off slow, but coming off a really good year where he had, I believe, 7 sacks, he is going to have somewhere around the 81 overall there. And then Steve McClendon is going to come in at about a 78. At this point in his career, he's an okay defensive lineman. He gets an okay score. On the outside linebackers, we know what Jachai Polite is. He is a 72 overall because he's a rookie, so we know what his grade is. And Jordan Jenkins is a pretty good starter in my eyes. He's not fantastic. He's not terrible. He's pretty good. So he's going to get a pretty good grade of a 77. Moving on to inside linebacker, the Jets have 2 pretty good ones. I'm going to start with Avery Williamson. I think he's going to have an 83 overall. Last year, he finished right around there, too, I'm pretty sure. So that seems like fair value there. And as for CJ Mosley, I think he's going to come in at a 90, a very nice score for him as an inside linebacker. He had a ton of tackles last year, so obviously I think his score is going to be pretty high, and his overall is going to be pretty high, so a 90 seems about fair there. At the cornerback position, I don't have anyone rated too high. Tremaine Johnson's the number 1 corner, obviously. I think he's going to come in at an 81. He's coming off a real tough year. If he does bounce back a little bit, that could go up slightly to maybe around the 84, 85, but I think he's going to come in right around 81. Dal Roberts is probably the de facto number 2. Don't love him as a number 2 corner, probably more like a number 4. He's probably going to be like a 77 overall, something like that. Brian Poole, new slot corner. I think he's going to be a similar score to what Buster Skrine was last year. So I believe that was a 77 overall. So I'm going to give him a 77 overall as well. And then who knows who they have fill in as their 4th corner. I'm going to say maybe Derek Jones at around the 70. But pick your poison there, the 4th corner, whoever you think it could be, whether it be who they just drafted, Blasson Austin. I highly doubt that. Whether it's, again, pick your poison. It's going to be someone in the low 70s there. And finally, we get to safety, where we get to talk about 2 pretty positive guys, Jamal Adams and Marcus May. Jamal Adams is going to come in at a 91 as the highest rated Jet, in my opinion. That makes the most sense to me. He is by far, probably on the defensive side of the ball especially, and on the offensive side too, I'll say it over Le'Veon Bell, just because you don't know what he is after a year off. He is the most proven player on this team, and he's going to take another step forward, and I think he's an all-pro this year. So that 91 could even go up even higher later in updates and in Madden 2021. As for Marcus May, I think he comes in as an 80, which is a fairly good score. But I think that his injury history is what's bringing that down a little bit. If he stays healthy, plays like 15, 16 games, and puts up the numbers we expect him to, that overall can get up to the mid-80s. Not going to talk about special teamers. Doesn't really matter all that too much to me. What do you think? Are you going to get Madden when it comes out? I think you have to if you're a football fan. 2, do you agree with my predictions? And get at me on the comments or on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys next time.